Hey, I want to talk to you today about a hidden symptom of menopause that nobody seems to talk about. And that is the reason your low back, your hips, and your pelvis suddenly hurt. It's about why your SI joint and your pelvis or your hips seem to go out all the time, and why this can leave you in debilitating pain, and it likely seems to recur. There's a biological reason this is happening, and understanding it can completely change the way you address pain, recovery, and exercise. But first, I want to say to you, you are not alone. 70% of women in menopause experience this. It's called the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause. It doesn't just affect your hips and low back, but that's what we're going to be talking about today. The musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause causes arthralgia, which is muscle pain, causes bone density breakdown, so osteoporosis, osteopenia, cartilage fragility, and ligament and tendon degradation. It sounds awful. It is awful. But hear me out, because I'm going to share with you what's actually happening. I want you to fully understand what's going on here, and I want to help you solve it. So what changes in menopause? Well, as estrogen declines, so does the production of collagen. And collagen plays a big role in the health and integrity of connective tissue. So as collagen levels decline, our tendons and ligaments become less resilient. And this, of course, impacts our lean muscle mass, which means we don't have as much support there either. So why does this seem to affect our pelvis so much, our hips, our low back? Why there? What's going on? Well, it turns out that we have some pretty big ligaments in our pelvic girdle that support our pelvis, but actually are very important for the stabilization of the pelvis. In fact, our SI, or sacroiliac joint stability, depends on these ligaments. The two very specific ligaments I'm talking about are called the sacrotuberous ligaments. We have one on each side. There are other very important ligaments in the pelvis, in our pelvic girdle, but these are important ones because they are so large and because they attach to our sacrum and a couple of spots on our pelvic girdle. They just become less resilient, and this can impact our pelvic alignment, our hip stability, and our core support. In a nutshell, when the structures that support your pelvic girdle start to break down and become less resilient, pelvic alignment and low back function can become compromised, and this can be very painful. Now, unfortunately, we don't always get the right information on how to handle this, how to solve it, and what to do to combat it. So there are several mistakes that women tend to make that I'd like to address first and foremost before I move on. The first thing is women tend to stretch, just stretch, overstretch. So three things can happen independently, and any combination of these things can happen. You can experience a pubic upslip, which means the pubic bones become misaligned, which misaligns the SI joint, and that's very painful. This is called a pubic upslip or a pubic downslip, depending on what the injury is or what the minor thing that you did that has caused it. You can get a rotation of either pelvic bone, so one side can be rotated posteriorly or anteriorly, and this can be very painful because it affects the SI joint as well as the pubic bone and all of the other structures. And a combination of the two can happen. You can get a pubic upslip and a rotation. So these things are painful, and it's hard to know what to do. But when women stretch the most painful muscles, they're often stretching an already overstretched muscle. So for example, if you have a pubic upslip, this injury is overstretching your leg muscles, the front leg muscles. And so you might really feel like your legs are heavy and sore and achy, and you can't figure out why, so you're stretching them. But in fact, you're stretching an overstretched muscle. Now, the proper stretches can be helpful, but you need to know what's going on so you can stretch the correct muscles. The next mistake that I see women make is that they stop moving. They curl up in a ball and they take some Advil and they stay as still as they can because moving is actually very painful. And I understand that. There's no doubt about it. However, walking is probably the best thing that you can do. And often women find that walking is tolerable when this happens. So continue to move. Your body wants to realign itself, and the way that we do that best is by moving in a way that's natural. Walking is the key. So try not to stop moving. That just makes everything seize up more, and it really doesn't help solve the problem. The next thing that women tend to do is they tend to ice. We do not want to ice. We don't ice anymore. I don't know if you know this or not, but icing interrupts the body's natural healing process. All right, the last but not least mistake that I see women make when this happens, when low back pain sets in, SI joint pain sets in, you feel like your back has gone out. Women who just say, this is just a natural part of aging and there's nothing that can be done. This is a mistake. This is totally solvable. It's rectifiable. It may take some management, but this management can just become part of your lifestyle. So not to worry. This is not necessarily just a part of aging. There are solutions. So let's talk about them. So what actually helps when your SI joint hurts, your pelvic girdle is killing you, or you feel like you've thrown out your low back again? Well, there are a few things that will make all the difference. First, strength training. You have got to increase your lean muscle mass. If you don't do any strength training as you age, your lean muscle mass will continue to decline. And that just means less stability around all of your joints, not just your pelvis. Strength training is going to be key to helping you manage this problem and get out of pain. The stronger your muscles are around your pelvic girdle, the more success you're going to have in completely resolving the pain. So specifically, you're going to be strengthening your core, meaning all of your abdominal muscles, the rectus abdominals, the obliques, the transverse abdominals. All abdominal muscles need to be strengthened. You're also going to have to work on strengthening your glutes. This is all the glute muscles, maximus, medius, minimus, and all of the surrounding musculature that attaches into your pelvis. This means your hamstrings, the muscles at the back of your legs, and the muscles in the front of your legs, your quads, your adductors, the muscles that help you bring your legs together, and your abductors as well. You're also going to have to work on your postural muscles. Just think about your back. Number 2 is daily movement. Get out walking. Walk like you are late. And not just walking, but mobility exercises and functional movement. Think activities of daily living. Keep moving in the ways that you've moved your whole life. You don't want to stop doing the things you've always been able to do. Number 3, you want to eat an anti-inflammatory diet. We underestimate the importance of anti-inflammatory foods in our diet. When we are eating inflammatory foods, we experience just a generalized inflammation throughout our entire body. So an anti-inflammatory diet is the first step in reducing overall inflammation in your body. What does that mean? It means more plants, more plant sources of protein, more complex carbohydrates, and less in the way of processed foods. Also, you want to be eating more phytoestrogens. These are plant foods that contain estrogen-like compounds that are actually beneficial. They are not harmful. These are things that you want to include in your diet on a regular basis that will help support collagen production and overall better health. And on that note, the last thing is supporting collagen production. So more phytoestrogens, more vitamin C. Vitamin C is key in the production of collagen, so lots of whole plant foods, raw vegetables, fruit, lots of vitamin C. And more protein, but I want you to make sure that more of your protein is coming from plant sources instead of animal sources because of the inflammation factor. Plant sources of protein are also nutrient-dense foods. I'm not saying you have to become a vegan, but I am telling you that more of your protein needs to come from plant sources. And last but not least, don't give up. Continue to have hope and continue to take action. In reality, when we support our connective tissue, build strength, reduce inflammation, and work with the body instead of against it, it's very likely that you'll experience significant improvement in your pelvic SI and hip joint pain. Hang in there, keep going, reach out with any questions, and if you're having trouble realigning your pelvis, feel free to reach out.